All right, chapters 10 through 18. No spoilers beyond this point, please. Uh, this section made this world feel so much bigger. The first 9 chapters felt regional. Uh, there was Winterfell, the royal court, family drama, but now the political web is tightening, and the map just expanded. And weirdly enough, one of the biggest moments for me in this section, chapters 10 through 18, was just a simple bit of information. Well, but we'll get to that. But Catelyn's arc in this section really surprised me. She begins this section uh, immobilized by grief at Bran's bedside. But then Bran is attacked again, which just shocked me as I was reading it. A fire is a distraction, and this like very strange guy that I kind of got the impression that he was kind of simple minded, with a blade that someone apparently hired. Uh, but then after all that, Catelyn's suddenly not frozen anymore. She becomes much more alert, tactical, suspicious. She shifts from mourning mother to political actor. That feels very Tolkien to me in some ways. I was reminded in Lord of the Rings that grief rarely paralyzes characters permanently. Rather, it galvanizes them. Kind of like Aragorn after Boromir's fall, or Eowyn refusing to be left behind. But then we get the revelation from Littlefinger. The knife supposedly belonged to him, and Tyrion won it, which is shocking to me. I mean, that's just explosive. But I'm not convinced that Tyrion is the obvious villain, though. Uh, in the previous section, the first 9 chapters, he seems too perceptive and too sideways to the main Lannister power structure. If anything, he feels like someone who sees the corruption clearly, which makes him dangerous to Jaime. And that may make him a useful scapegoat. Like Tyrion may end up being Jaime's scapegoat in this. But here's what really hit me. King Robert hears about is her name Daenerys? I'm just gonna call her Danny. Marriage to Khal Drogo. That stunned me because it means the world is far more interconnected than I imagined. This isn't isolated feudal kingdoms unaware of distant threats. News actually crosses the sea pretty quickly. Information is moving. Political marriages on what I assume is another continent matter to the throne that Robert is sitting on. That changes the scale of the story. And I mean, as a fan of Tolkien, I'm used to distant events mattering. Sauron and Mordor has an effect on the Shire. But here, the interconnectedness feels very political rather than mythic. Robert isn't reacting like someone hearing about legend. He's reacting like someone assessing a threat, which means uh, that Danny uh, isn't just an exile. She's a potential destabilizing force. And another thing in this section I found interesting was Bran's dream before he wakes up. The crow telling him to fly. It says, fly or die. And it's a dream of him falling again. And the crow tells him that, well, he says, I don't have wings. And the crow says, there are different kinds of wings. That whole thing feels deeply symbolic to me, because of course Bran's back is broken. He's gonna be crippled for life, like physically broken. But the dream is about ascent, about flying. And of course, this is where my C.S. Lewis radar is going off, because Lewis often frames spiritual awakening as elevation, seeing the world from above. And there's actually a moment where Bran sees the world from above in the dream. Uh, like spiritual awakening is like elevation, seeing the world from above, perceiving deeper reality. And Out of the Silent Planets, physical weakness doesn't prevent spiritual insight. Bran may not walk again, but he might see further than anyone. And in Tolkien, wounds often precede transformation. Frodo after Weathertop, or Gandalf after his fall in Moria. Bran flying before waking feels like a death and rebirth motif. And I cannot believe that line isn't foreshadowing something major. Bran, fly or die. I cannot believe that line isn't that's got to be foreshadowing something major. Bran, I think, is going to be very important. Um, but then there's the sigils. Let's talk about heraldry, because this was a fascinating part of this section to me. And as a Tolkien fan and C.S. Lewis fan, I love symbolic pattern. The Lannisters are lions. The king, Robert Baratheon, is a stag. The Starks are wolves, or be more precise, dire wolves, but wolves. And Dany is the dragon. Now think about that. A stag is prey, especially to lions. A wolf might be able to defend the stag against a lion, but wolves alone can't defeat lions outright. But then there's the dragon. If this were mythic symbolism, and I think George R.R. Martin seems to know his myth from what I've read so far. If this were mythic symbolism, the dragon is the game changer, the apex force. So here's my early, and again, totally speculative theory. I'm reading this for the first time, so if I get something wrong in it, give me grace. Let me figure things out as I go. Um, The Lannisters, the Lions, will eventually clash with the Baratheons, the Stag. The Starks, the Wolves, will side with the king out of loyalty. But it won't be enough. Something bigger will have to tip the scale. And that's where Dany, the dragon, converges with the main storyline. I don't think her story will remain separate forever. It feels mythically destined to collide with the politics of Westeros. Another interesting thing I found is the gift that Dany receives, the wedding gift she receives. Uh, Fossilized, at least I assume fossilized. The way it described it seemed they were fossilized dragon eggs. It basically said they were turned to stone. So I think of something being turned to stone, being fossilized. So fossilized dragon eggs, stone, or so they say. So the book says. This is where I have to call the book out because come on, you can't just introduce dragon eggs and not have them eventually hatch. I cannot believe those eggs are truly dead. It may just be Tolkien, my Tolkien fandom speaking, because in Tolkien, the ancient world never fully dies. There's always remnants, echoes of lost ages. If dragons once ruled the skies, and Dany receives dragon eggs as a wedding gift, and her house sigil is literally the dragon, then I think those eggs are gonna hatch at some point. point. And if they do, the political equation changes entirely. A lion might dominate a stag. A wolf might be able to harry a lion. But a dragon, that's a game changer. And that's myth returning to history. But about Daenerys, though, I didn't mention much. I don't think I mentioned anything about her in my first video, and that's because I still don't fully know what to make of her emotionally. I mean, I feel for her. Like she's clearly presented as a almost a victim, but like she's very young. She's a very young girl. She's isolated, manipulated, and traded. But narratively, she feels like slow burning power. In Tolkien, Aragorn's kingship restores the past. Dany feels like she might resurrect something older and more volatile. If Bran represents transcendence, and Catelyn represents duty, and Ned represents honor, Dany might represent legacy. But not just political legacy, elemental legacy. So, at this point in the story, here's what I'm thinking. Here are my theories so far of where this is gonna go. I've already given some of my theories, but anyway, no spoilers in the comments. But these are my theories. Tyrion may be framed or maneuvered. Jaime's involvement in Bran's fall is still central. The lions and the stag are on a collision course. The wolves will defend loyalty, even if it costs them. Bran's dream is absolutely foreshadowing transformation. And the dragon storyline will not remain distant. The world is bigger than I thought, more connected, and more mythic beneath the politics. Oh, and another thing that just really got me. Uh, Sansa's fiance, Jeffrey. No, Joffrey. Him and the butcher's boy, and like that whole thing, and then later on, the thing that ended up causing Lady the like Ned having to kill Sansa's dire wolf, which wasn't even involved in the that Jeffrey just needs to. No, sorry, Joff, whatever his name is, needs just to be slapped across the. I could not stand him. Could not stand him. Could not. Anyway. Uh, yeah. Just, I did not like that part. Yeah, I did not like that part. Anyway, as a Lord of the Rings fan, I came into this expecting epic destiny. What I'm getting is something more volatile. This feels like heraldry in motion. Like the symbols on banners are about to start breathing fire. Now, again, no spoilers in the comments, but I have a feeling the wolves are going to need the dragon. I have a feeling that the Starks and Dany are going to end up in some kind of alliance against the Lannisters. So I'm excited to move forward. See y'all next time.